How's it going?
That makes it easy. Awesome. All right. Well, I gave a little bit of a background on you guys, but I'm just going to step out of the way and let you guys take it from here.
Fantastic. We appreciate it, Derek. We're going to go ahead and share our presentation here. We appreciate the opportunity to be with you. What we wanted to do is we'll talk a little bit about Route, and what we want to do is talk about Route in the context of something that Nico's especially passionate about, and something that I think is really endemic to the Route solution, and that's the idea of empathy as part of your marketing mix for e-commerce brands, and how you can specifically do that. And so Nico, I'll introduce her in a minute. She runs our fashion and apparel partnerships at Route. And she's, I think, best poised to talk about the power of empathy. She represents that at our company and has a really good handle on what that means for brands. So just kind of getting into this idea of Route specifically, want to touch on that, and then we'll close out the discussion about what empathy means as part of our solution. But Route, as Derek mentioned, is a really easy to deploy widget that you can install at checkout. It's about a 5 to 10 minute installation. You can download that from the Shopify marketplace, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, any of the major e-commerce platforms have Route available. And what we offer is a few things. We can offer universal tracking for all orders across any merchant, across any carrier, across the globe, in one app or through a series of web links that you can offer your customers. This is free for the customer and a free solution for merchants. The unique thing about this is that it's visual order tracking. You can see where the customer can see where their order is on a visual map at any point in time. And the thing that really makes Route special, both for merchants and customers, is this widget at checkout, which allows your customers to add premium shipping protection to their order for a cost of about 1 to 2% of order value. And that shipping protection protects their order from loss, theft, or damage. And whereas other shipping insurance products are all about increasing friction and making the claims process really challenging because they don't want to pay out claims, we're in the business of eliminating friction and making claims really easy. And then finally, through the app or through that claims process that's really simple, we're always about connecting that experience to the brand so that you can really successfully deliver a post-purchase experience. And that experience is really what we think about in terms of empathy, and why empathy is important. It's kind of been a buzzy marketing idea. It's an aspect of brand marketing, and if done right, it can really be a powerful strategy, especially for D2C brands. In simple terms, it's about understanding the emotional identity of your customers and then creating a brand e-commerce experience that demonstrates that you understand your customers, who they are, how they feel, and what they expect in terms of a brand experience. And so if you do this right, you should be improving your product experience. If you really deliver on the promise of empathy, you will increase conversion. And then I think most importantly for us is empathy really increases and develops loyalty between the brand and the customer. And so because it's kind of a brand type of thing, as we've moved from an analog to a digital environment in e-commerce, we almost over focus on data. We're swimming in data, we're swimming in technology. Empathy is about really understanding core, almost emotional insights about your customer, and then converting those insights into how we touch our customers rather than focusing just on conversion. And then that helps us build affinity between the brand and the customer rather than just focusing on the metrics around customer lifetime value. Now, it's not that insights and touch and affinity are more important than data conversion and CLV. It's that both are important. And we tend to over-index on kind of the quantitative side. And empathy is a really an important tool in terms of connecting to that emotion of your customers. And the last thing here about empathy is that it's really an inherent advantage, or should be an inherent advantage, for D2C brands. Marketplaces and big retailers like Amazon and even Walmart, they're focused on customer breadth, but they have a hard time really delivering on depth. And that's what D2C brands are able to do through empathy. And so we think about this through three lenses: building your audiences or generating personas, the idea of empathy mapping, and then mapping empathy to your customer journey or the optimization of your customer journey. So I don't want to spend too much time on audience building, but most of you have thought about segmenting your audience or building personas. You know who you're trying to target, and pivoting off of that is the idea of building an empathy map. And so you just simply ask these questions about who you believe your core customer is. You want to understand, what are the things that they say? How do they speak? What is the language that they use? What do they think? What do they care about? What are they passionate about in terms of causes, in terms of their social profile? What do they do? What types of do they focus on? Family activities? Are they about fashion? Are they about causes? How do they spend their time in terms of recreation? And then how do they feel? If you can answer these questions, that gives you a really good opportunity to map your marketing messaging, your site creative, and your product experience across the customer journey to really deliver a unique and empathetic experience that will improve conversion and customer loyalty. And so I want to kind of get to the meat of our conversation and introduce Nico. One of the things that I think is really crucial to empathy is just the idea of passion. And Nico, kind of her approach to e-commerce brands and e-commerce in general is really a function of her passion. And so Nico, want to kind of turn the ball over to you and maybe just ask a few questions in terms of how you got involved with e-commerce and how the idea of empathy has really led to some of your success here at Route and before arriving to Route as well.
Yeah, I think, I've been in the retail and fashion industry for over a decade now. And so I've, I started off at Nordstrom years ago, and through that, I really learned what was important to customers. And I try to connect with them, like, okay, what products do they love and why are they purchasing this? And then as I developed my career into e-commerce and now here at Route, I always have that in mind of the customers in mind and how can we create a great experience for the customers to keep shopping back to.
Can you share us your ideas on why and whether you agree with me in terms of empathy being so crucial and really a right that D2C brands have compared to bigger retailers?
Yeah, I think it's, just more about having this passion and then customers engaging with the brands.
Yeah, you've talked to me about in the past the idea of customers having an identity and brands that are really successful being able to have a shared identity and building on something together. That could be, you've spoken to me about causes, about what are some of those shared aspects of identity that are really important for brands to understand?
Yeah, and I think it's also brands really knowing their audience and giving that personal touch to, like, who are they as a brand and who are their customers.
Let's go through some of these examples with brands that you've worked with and kind of walk through some tangible examples, tips that you've seen brands use in terms of delivering empathy and deriving success from that.
Yeah, so Yoki is a good friend of mine. He's been in the fashion retail industry for over 30 years now. And what I love about Yoki and his brand is the products that he creates and having his customers in mind. So, he works a lot in the youth culture, and he'll repurpose these products that he has. So he'll take, a jacket and a beach towel and repurpose that. But his whole, who he is as a person, his DNA, and who he attracts his customers is this idea of being unique too.
And authentic. He's actually been approached by bigger brands as well to create custom pieces.
Yeah.
Can you comment about that?
Yeah, so he's worked with Levi's and Nike, as well as he works with Goodwill too. And so some of the other, he works with universities. So he works with like USC and UCLA, and he'll make these old jerseys into jackets too.
Right.
So
yeah, it's really amazing. Yoki's, I think, a great example of, he's not for everyone, but for those that are fans of what he's doing in terms of creating really unique individual pieces at scale. They're fiercely loyal to him and his brand. Talk about Bather. I love this example. And what they're being able to do is an aspect of community and finding empathy within a community.
Yeah, so one thing that they're very proud of is that their product is made in Canada. So everything is sourced there. All of their talent is hired locally. And so they are super focused on building this community internally, as well as making sure that's translated to their customers who are shopping with them too. So,
yeah, I think that's, sometimes I find that e-commerce brands, they default to trying to be everything to everyone. But some of the more successful D2C brands are not ashamed of where they come from, where they're sourced, and they really promote that, and they find some success there. And certainly that isn't for everyone, but that pursuit of depth over breadth is actually a driver of performance and success.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Ruby's. Ruby's doing some really interesting things. They're a Route customer as well.
Yeah, so they've been with Route for over almost a year now, and I love working with them. And most of their consumers are, moms, they're raising kids. And so they know that their world can be a little chaotic sometimes. And so their idea of approaching their customers is, how can I brighten their day and send a positive message? And what I love too is they reflect that in their packaging as well. So they'll send like a surprise gift. They do handwritten notes to all their customers, and they've found when they do that, they get repeat business from them as well. So.
I love that. We talk all the time about post-purchase optimization, and packaging is such an undervalued but crucial aspect of really maintaining brand continuity and focusing on that, on the moments that matter after a customer's invested in your brand. And that's everything from what we do in terms of order tracking and protection, but also the moment they receive that package, and focusing on the packaging as a continued aspect of brand and creative. I think what they're doing is really interesting. Here's an example of Route as part of their checkout process.
Yeah, so when customers decide to add in Route into their cart, this is what it would look like as a product on Shopify. But I love Ruby's Rubbish description. They're huge fans of Route, and they're like, it's just like we're sending a big air hug. So
there you have it. Route is a big air hug, according to Ruby. All right, I wanted to share an example, one that I just am in love with these guys, and they're kind of hard to work with. It's a brand called Pit Viper. They're a kind of a nostalgia brand. They focus on eyewear and kind of other nostalgia apparel. I got these from Pit Viper. They're a local brand here out of Salt Lake City. And they really over-index on empathy, and to the expense of kind of some of the more quantitative and performance-oriented strategies. I've talked to them about analytics, and they're like, we'll look at some analytics, but man, we make enough money. We just want to like surf and have fun. And while that approach is kind of antithetical to good e-commerce marketing, it really works for them. And their customers are really fiercely loyal. And just, if you guys in the audience really want a great example of empathetic marketing, check out the Pit Viper website. If we were to go through an empathy mapping process and ask these questions, this is what they would say. If their customers, in terms of what they say, they talk about irreverent shit. In terms of what they think, they don't think a lot. They focus on doing and having fun. What they do is surfing, skating, biking, stuff that's outside. And in terms of how they feel, most of the time they feel freaking awesome. If you take a look at their site, they've really spent a lot of time focusing on kind of this nostalgia, old. It doesn't work for other brands, but it really works for them. They have a lot of GIF imagery. These are kind of rotating GIFs on the live version of their site. And it's just an outstanding example of knowing their customer and focusing on what works just for that customer and ignoring some of the other barnacles that can attach to a brand that either are not on brand or just not aligned with how their customer feels or how their customers behave. Wanted to transition here into routes specifically and the idea of empathy as it pertains to the post-purchase experience. We talked about the idea of customer journey, and you've talked about a few things in terms of empathy within pre-purchase activities, acquisition. You talked about Ruby and what they're doing with packaging, post-purchase. Route is really a great example of a post-purchase solution offering. Can you describe the idea of brand ownership when it comes to post-purchase and how that has not necessarily been something that brands have been able to do in the past, but are now able to do through solutions like Route?
Yeah, a lot of the brands that I work with, reasons they love Route is knowing that their customers are going to be taken care of from the moment their package is shipped out of their warehouse to the moment it arrives to their doorstep too. And even when customers purchase Route, they love that feeling as well, knowing that it's going to be taken care of.
One of the things that I found is, most customers they just assume ownership over these first two aspects of the customer journey. But once the order is shipped, they wash their hands of it. It's in the hands of UPS or a carrier or another logistics partner. Yeah. And they just hope everything goes right. But Amazon, over the last decade or so, they've set the standard that you have to be able to own post-purchase. And they've delivered a really delightful and kind of standardized experience that D2C brands have to recognize. It's a standard they have to live up to. We found here at Route that most post-purchase experiences in the eyes of customers are poor. And if something goes wrong, this is really striking to me, and this has been really evidenced through the pandemic, is that if something goes wrong in terms of shipping, whether it's shipping disruptions, supply chain issues, whether it's UPS fault or FedEx fault, it doesn't matter. The customer blames the brand. And so Route becomes a really fantastic opportunity for brands to claim ownership of post-purchase and focus on delivering a really great white glove experience. And so what will happen is that, and we've seen this through 2020 again, through the pandemic, is that Tracking of packages, or the expectation to track their packages, has increased by more than 200%. Porch piracy in the last 6 months has increased by 131%, and damaged packages has increased by 20%. 20% doesn't sound like a lot, but compared to the norm over the last 10 to 20 years, a 20% increase in damaged packages is actually really, really significant. And those are the things that Route covers. So again, this is a solution that is free to merchants. It's a 5 to 7 minute installation at checkout. You can track, customers can track the progress of their orders either through a web link or through downloading the Route app. The brand is continuous through both the app experience and the web link experience via emails. And the customer, if they choose to protect their order, they can submit a really easy claim. Usually these claims are approved within...
They're approved within 24 hours. Yeah. And then what our team does is we either reorder that product from the site, or we'll give your customers a refund too. And that's what the protection piece covers.
So customer submits a claim. We are, by default, we try to just repurchase the order if something happens. So the merchant gets credit for both orders.
Yep.
Route pays for the reorder. Yep. If the customer wants a refund, Route will pay for the refund as well.
Correct. Yeah.
And then some other, as we kind of close down the presentation here, some other resources that I think are really great for your consideration. Simon, sometimes he's a handful in terms of his bedside manner, but he's actually got a really great talk. It's one of the more famous marketing talks on YouTube. If you Google or search on YouTube for Simon Sinek's discussion on empathy, that's a really powerful and I think instructive presentation to go through. Mary Beach, who's the CMO at Kate Spade, has a fantastic interview that she conducted that's also on YouTube about using empathy within marketing. And then we've got some great features on the Route blog as well. Wanted to thank you, Derek, for your time. If you want to get a hold of Nico, especially if you've got questions around marketing and using Route for fashion and apparel brands, Nico is a fantastic resource. You can certainly reach out to me as well. Nico at Route, Rich at Route. For those that are interested in trying out Route, again, it's free to merchants. It's a pretty easy installation process. And if you have Route live on your site for more than 7 days, we'll give you $100. It's kind of a no-brainer. If you want to take advantage of that offer, it's specific to Derek's to Derek's network, route.com/eCommerce tech, and you can take advantage of that offer. Derek, we're done. If you have any questions that have come through, we're happy to field those or turn the time over to you.
About Route, there was one question, but I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. Do you work internationally?
We do. We're available in more than 160 countries, and the shipping protection offer, as well as the tracking feature, is available across the globe.
Love it. Awesome. Amazing. And yeah, this is in chat. I'm just saying, so it's available in Australia. Yes, is the answer, Megan.
We have a lot of Australian retailers. They've been a big part of our growth, actually. We're big Australian fans.
That's awesome. This is one of those tools that I tell people is a no-brainer. It just works in every store. It should just come standard, in all honesty. And it's really good to see the growth of Route, and I loved this presentation, and it's going to lead very nicely into our closing keynote. With that being said, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining us for the conversation.
Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, thank you so much.